Hi all, welcome back to was pretty much the start of the second part of the campaign for Tales of Maj'Eyal. Last time I basically got to the halfway point and passed it, and that was when we basically fought the Master and did the Orc ambush pretty much. Now we pretty much get into what is really the start of the second half of the campaign, and we're dealing with Orcs. We're in the Dwarven Kingdom of Reknor, and as you can see we have an escort here to toy around with, so actually let's try and escort her out of here. Looks like she's going this way. I'll note that because we're dealing with orcs, we're going to be seeing a lot more of these, like, you know, master assassins and other guys have to deal with, so there will be some fun to deal with, for sure. Alright, let's just go like that, go like this. Okay, where are you going now? Okay, she's going this way. So yes, there's going to be a lot more of these like class type of orcs. We've got, like, you know, here's an orc summoner. That guy I fought over there was like a assassin. There's also like the basic grunts and soldiers that I'll be fighting as well. There's just there's going to be a lot of standard grunts along with these classes they'll be fighting at this point in the game. What did I just hit with here? Oh, it's just a Naga. Hi, Naga. And hello, orcs. Yeah, it's just slowly escorting this little seer to this escort over here. So I'll note that these escort rewards, this is like the last place to find them if you're still looking for a few escort rewards. I want to note that you can almost be guaranteed that the people in here will usually die in Reknor. This is actually a very odd case where she's actually survived a lot longer than I expected she would, but it's very unlikely that she's going to basically usually live these like sort of events. And wow, I'm doing really terrible with these fails to attack stuff. So yeah. Alright, this is actually a really bad situation because I could possibly also attack her. Hopefully she jumps on that like little space there, but we pretty much have to, you know, try and do what we can here, sort of help her out. The thing is, I might attack her if I, randomly around. I'm not sure if I'll fail to attack her or not, but it's something I'm sort of distinctly aware of possibly happening. One moment, gotta check the phone. Alright, fun. Phone calls always happening at the worst possible times. Alright, so what I really want to do here is basically sort of not do anything. So we're actually going to just wait. So what I'm really doing here, she's basically right here, and she basically, has to like sort of get to this little portal, but she's got full health. And what I sort of want to do is just try and let her just sort of wander onto that portal by herself, if possible, and not die in the process. But we're basically just going to wait here until either she maybe moves right there by herself, or perhaps we'll actually teleport here if I have to. Actually, this is where you switch place. So switch place lets me just swap places with people. So I'm just going to step here, step there. So that's one way of like just dropping her in there, just to sort of hint at that, by the way. So we already rescued a seer, so I have access to these towns here again. If I want to, I can improve premonition a little bit further, and I think I just might. I might go after like Arcane Eye or Vision if like I was going to invest heavier into the Clairvoyance tree, but we're probably just going to not do that. We're just going to just boost this up and just continue on from there. Okay, good to know. I wasn't sure if my Windblade would actually hit adjacent like friendly targets. So when we did Windblade, it apparently hit my Trents too. So I was thinking about possibly using that during the fight with stuff with a seer around, but I was afraid I might kill a seer in the process, so I just didn't do that. Let me do it here though. Good old Windblade. There's a regular assassin, by the way. So yeah, in the first dungeon here of Reknor, pretty much what's going on. Reknor was a Dwarven Kingdom, and it was basically overrun by Orcs, and they of course have their trollish allies, and there's always of course some other stuff in here as well. Sometimes there's dragons, for example. This is probably going to be possibly your first instance where you'll see lots of worms actually frequently popping up. And there's just another Master Assassin, so do give him due care. I'll note then that my light race is very low at this point because I took off the star and moon daggers. So these don't have any light rays on them, and this one over here, of course, never really had that great of light rays to begin with. So my character, as you can see, doesn't have a whole lot of visual range. If I look at it here, it's like, light race is 5. So there's actually a negative somewhere, probably from, where is it from? Something's giving me a negative light radius on top of like everything else. But anyhow, is there stuff that's possibly going to interest me? I'm still looking for Constitution gear, right? But if I'm going to be picking up lots of items too. I'll note that Reknor's a very long dungeon, and part of the reason that escorts are really hard to sort of keep alive in Reknor is because it's such a big dungeon. Sometimes you can have escorts that are fairly close to your starting position. Other times they might be halfway across the map, and as you can see, this is a very huge map. So it can be quite deadly sometimes. Alright, I'm getting shot here, so I just got pinned. That sucks. Alright, I want to activate this. I want to... I'm going to throw this down here. And I'll note that reduced vision, of course, decreases my vision range by 5, so I've got even lower decreased vision here. Anyway, we're just going to run up to you, and there we go. So I'll note that I used the movement infusion here. So that's like, I guess, the first real use of it. Movement infusions, they can allow you to move really fast, and as long as you don't do any action, basically, you can keep moving quite fast all the way up to your opponents. That's very useful there because I couldn't see where a giant ant was. So one way to sort of getting up to him was just to use the movement infusion instead of trying to use Shadow Blade. I could have also used track and then, done it that way, but there's like, a sort of use of movement infusion just to show it off. That's primarily how I usually attack stuff too. I don't usually have track on my characters. There's a Blood Mage. That's pretty much just like the Elven Blood Mages from the Dark Crypt and the Spellblade Scar and all that. Notably, by the way, be very careful when you're shifting around your towns. I actually pressed 6 there instead of 7 for sweep. 6 used to be where I had sweep, there, and... Well, I accidentally hit the button for cripple there because, I reset the talents on my hotbar here. I could, by the way, just, set it so like all my talents are on memorizable hotkeys and all that, but I generally like to have them all visually prepared like this. Oh, this guy's a rare. That was actually a brawler rare, I think, but wasn't too tough. Okay, I've got guys all around me, so this is a good time to use Windblade, even though I can't see anyone. So yeah, I basically use Windblade there. I don't think I actually hit everyone. Or this guy was either behind a wall, perhaps, and I didn't hit him that way. So yes, blindness! blindness is occurring because I, don't have the Choker of Dread over here anymore on. Should probably take this off. The thing I liked about the Ferrous Steel Ammo is that it gives me more movement speed, which is actually very good. But if I look at my defense, yeah, no blindness anymore. So bit of an issue when guys keep dropping their sun infusions constantly. Alright, so there's the first level of Reknor, and as you can see, that's a very long and sort of arduous level. They're not, the stuff in here is just basically just a lot of generic orcs with some, random, class type of orcs thrown in. Sometimes you just saw the Summoner, the Blood Mage, stuff like that. A whole bunch of assassins. You'll generally find a lot of assassins in here. You also note that I picked up, a bit of equipment here. This is actually a Constitution dagger, so finally picked up a dagger with Constitution on it. That'll be very nice for buffing up thick skin. Alright, none of that really interests me, so we'll push on. Elder Vampire, kill him. So, pretty much after Dreadfell, with the Shadow Blade, you can probably expect it'll become very easy mode, kind of like this. I don't expect much trouble anymore from enemies for a little bit initially. It's kind of like the starter dungeons, sort of, in a way. They're not going to be all that difficult compared to the last few dungeons you probably faced. So yeah, I'm just going to merrily just keep going on. Okay, so this guy is a corruptor by the looks of it, I think. So we're going to deal with him first, if at all possible. Because, he can, zap me and all that with all this other crap. We'll try Shadow Step on him. And Flurry. And he's out of the way. I guess as a note, by the way, if you are playing a character at this point and you don't have good at least 3 of 5 piercing sight, you should probably expect trouble from this dungeon if you run up against those stealthy assassin type orc assassins in here. They can do quite a bit of damage, and sometimes you'll find those Grandmaster assassins as well. So as a note for threats, the only thing you really have to watch out for, I don't really have to watch out for it, but if you don't have it, stealth enemies like this guy could pop up and be, kind of threatening. But potentially. It might not be. This guy's, falling off. He's the Grandmaster Assassin, so this guy's able to sort of, cloak himself a little bit, and I'm going to have to deal with him carefully. And then if you had, no piercing sight or anything like that, or any ability to see invisible foes, these guys can rip through you. I'll note that on higher difficulty, stuff like the Orc Grandmaster Assassin are considered to be very, very scary monsters because of how enemies sort of scale. Due to cunning, very importantly playing into in part to how stealth sort of works, you can find stuff like the Orc Grandmaster's Assassins getting a lot more deadlier and higher difficulties. And it's just because they can hide themselves a whole lot better. In this difficulty, they're still quite dangerous, though. Notably, they were dangerous in the old maze, and notably can still be dangerous now if I don't catch sight of them in time. Alright. I was hoping to find this guy. Here's the Forest Tread Hedge Wizard. This is actually a troll unique. You can encounter this guy earlier, but this is actually sort of the last dungeon where you might find him if you haven't encountered him in the earlier parts of the game. The Forest Troll Hedge Wizard actually has a very special type of effect. Basically, he's got this sort of what can I say? He's got these shielding abilities, and if I actually look at him, he's got this reflection ruin. So this guy is kind of what I consider the first type of watch out for what he could do. If you recall with the Elder Vampires, where I basically hit him with Flurry, they can hit me a whole bunch backwards for every time I hit them. This guy basically reflects the damage you do if he puts on his ruin. So we want to be very careful and make sure he doesn't have that ruin on at any time, or else I could be in trouble. When you kill him, he drops the Rune of Reflection if you haven't yet picked it up, I don't think. Or sometimes he'll drop it. I'm not sure if it's guaranteed. The Rune of Reflection is a very powerful rune. I actually consider this to be the best rune if you are a magic character, much like my Shadowblade is. And it's one of those few cases where Randart inscriptions are actually going to be useful. If you basically with all the inscriptions that I've sort of had, like that Primal Infusion and the Rune of the Rift, this one, the Rune of Reflection, is very, very useful. It basically gives you the ability to sort of reflect damage back at your foes, and that sort of reflection can really pay off in destroying them sometimes, especially if you have higher magic stat like I'm going to have on this character. So even though, by the way, this is only a little bit better than my other one, I put it over it just because I know it's so much better than it. And by the way, there's this guy here. He was actually cloaked, and I missed him. So I missed him, or yeah, he missed me basically, and I missed him, I think. And you gotta watch out for these stealthy guys. Even my character with 3 of 5 piercing sight is still having a little bit of trouble sometimes seeing all of them. So this sort of shows us how important stealthy or self-detection is on characters at this part of the game, at least once you get to it. I forget how good my... Whoops. By the way, you can actually drop stuff if you want. It's an old mechanic, but okay, I don't want to replace it with this. We're just going to transmogrify that. I just like to check to see if stuff is going to be better or at least comparable in some way. Heroism infusions, by the way, I'm looking both for the cooldown as well as for how much they might protect me, so I want to pay attention to everything they do. I don't think I need any of this stuff, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And here's a Mind Slayer. And down he goes. So notably, like many of these other dungeons, I'll note that there's lots of these chests to find at this point. I think this might, however, be one of the last places where you'll basically start finding chests outside of a dungeon, or 4 actual dungeons that are very cookie cutter of how they sort of work. Treasure chests certainly become a lot less rare, I think, after this dungeon here, except for those 4 dungeons. So there's another Grandmaster Assassin. When I see him, he's not going to be too much of a threat, but if he ever catches me off guard, he could do a lot of damage. I've had basically things where basically I was fighting one of those guys, the Grandmaster Assassins. These guys can just rip me to pieces if I'm not careful. So that guy, I only just saw him. He's right on Million already. See, he missed me basically 3 times there, as you can see. So he gets a lot of strikes on me. These guys can do a lot of damage, however, if they do manage to hit you. Luckily, I'm still, my defensive stat, it's still going to play a big role against a lot of enemies. But I gotta be careful. Those guys can still do a lot of damage if I'm caught unprepared for them. There's another Orc Grandmaster Assassin. Alright, there's that looks like a Paradox Mage. Yep, looks like a Paradox Mage. Nice, we picked up a Randart item there. There's just a regular Master Assassin. I'll note, by the way, that I can tell which ones the Master Assassins are, sort of on the tilt of your head. Master Assassins tilt to the left, Grandmaster Assassins tilt to the right. It's really a very small thing, but hey, you dropped something. Nice, a dagger. I'll be looking at that in a moment. Alright, we've picked up a few items I have to go through here, so we'll do so. I was wearing this for maximum life and critical multiplier, so yeah, this is great, but not that great. Don't think I want to replace my speed ring with a ring like that. So here's that blade I picked up. So this is a tier 3 dagger, and I want to note something. Something's very special about this dagger. It has something called quick weapon swap. So in game, it takes like a turn to sort of swap your stuff around. Now let's go through all this stuff before I basically exit here. So this is the gear I picked up for the gloves. This is kind of interesting for the Ruined Earth ability that sort of has at the end there, but it's not really, it's giving some stuff like chance of random insanity, more melee damage, and resistance to light and acid, but I suppose it's actually worth putting on, actually. I mean, this is great, and it gives me that boulder throw, but I'll put it on, why not? Alright, Constitution gear that I can't wear. So I want to note basically that with stuff like when you're weapon swapping between your stuff, I just should go find a monster first. And we found snow giants. So anyways, when you basically have like weapon swap going on, now let's weapon swap by pressing Q there. You basically take a turn to sort of swap your weapons unless you have like quick weapon swap or some ability to sort of like get by it. So these guys, for example, if I was like sort of getting up to them, if I was like swapping in next to them, they basically get a free hit on me as a result. If I need to swap my weapons for some reason. Now that might not really play a big issue to you if you're not really weapon swapping to begin with a whole lot, but in future updates it might. Just to sort of throw it out there, it might play a bit more of an issue. Might not. I could be just saying stuff without any real backing for it, but I'd like to see it perhaps that worked that way. Movement speed of the warrior is too low. It benefits, sadly. Yeah, I guess far too low a benefit. Anyhow, we level up a little bit back there. We're just going to drop whatever I can in here, as it has been doing for the last little bit. Now, something to note about stats. So right now I have 11 Constitution. I want to note that I basically have this Heroism infusion right here. So we're just going to put that on temporarily. So note basically that this doesn't help you with like getting on like thick skin and stuff like that. So there is sort of like limits to sort of like boosting up your modified stat to sort of like put on stuff. And I'm gonna have to basically rely on gear sort of to do it. Yep, gonna have to put on the belt. So put that on. Put this on. Let's see here, which one of these was the this one. Let's put that one on. I found this Constitution dagger, so we can make use of it. This is actually a good point where I can sort of like equip them in here on the offsets. I won't ever actually really use these items, but I can sort of make use of them just for the ability for Constitution. So I was using this bow before, but this dagger is far better, so we can actually get rid of this now. And as wearing that, I'm probably going to keep wearing that, I guess, for negative fatigue. I want to put this back on, actually. Yeah, we're actually going to put the Fortune's Eye back on. I kind of like the idea of having track available and the other little benefits it gives. Also, I want to have this like sort of on the cocky as well, just for other stuff as well. So there's that as well. All right, so boosted up my Constitution stat. Apparently, I still lack 3 points. If I had more points, am I missing anything? Yep, I was missing one little thing, the rings. Alright, so we're just going to put on one of these rings. Put on that ring. Why not? Let's put this on for show. So now I can basically boost my Constitution up to 41. Nice, I can actually pick up, or apparently I can't. But I'll be able to, with a little bit more Constitution stat, pick up the 4th stat in fixed training. I'll note that it's very possible to pick up all 5 stats in fixed training without putting a single point in the Constitution stat. You can literally go through this game without doing that, really. You can actually go from one end to the other. Not put a single point in Constitution stat and still max out thick skin with ease. Might be fixed, by the way, in the future, where they make it so you can't use equipment like I'm sort of doing right now. I actually would prefer if they sort of did. It's sort of scummy sort of doing it as the way I'm sort of doing right now. I don't really need this anymore, so we're just going to get rid of it. And I can actually keep those equipped, those items here I have equipped, because they're in the offset. The offset, basically how it works, is this gives you a second set that you can make use of. It's more important right now to archer type characters, or characters that may have like archery type talents, also along with like their regular melee type of talents. They can basically swap from range to melee as needed. In the future, that might change a little bit. There was a little bit of discussion about about an idea that popped up that was basically about including weapon swapping so that you can get rid of disarm. Or not really get rid of disarm, but just get by it. You basically swapped your other weapons when you're disarmed from your first one. Not sure if it'll happen, but it'd be cool if it did. Now note that there's like those attacks where it's like sort of going down there even though it's still moving. I'll note that you can see attacks even while you're all exploring, but they won't necessarily hit you. Until you actually see an enemy or you get hit, you don't actually stop all exploring. So with lower light rays, that's a little bit of an issue. So there's our Grandmaster. And let's just go yoink. And this guy, as you can see, is Necromancer. They're all dead. Now, sadly, I'll note something, by the way. Once you basically get up to Reknor free, if you're not sure if you had any escorts before this point, I can almost guarantee at Reknor free that you've basically run out of escorts. I'll also know if you look down through here, you can actually see how many escorts you've had. So I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 escorts, basically, thus far. I think 9 or 10 is like the maximum. I'm not entirely sure if I missed one or not, but once you're basically getting up to like this amount of escorts, you can almost be guaranteed at Reknor free that if there's an escort and you possibly missed it, you know, you might have missed it. Okay, we picked up some stuff here. All right, here's a very special type of amulet. This is basically a very important thing to note. Some gear like this actually reduces your saves and light resistances and stuff like that. There's actually this here which actually reduces my mental save a little bit. Sometimes gear can have very negative effects, even though it might have very positive effects associated as well. So this unflinching eye, what it would do? It would give me telepathy range increased by 10, and I would automatically see horror type of enemies. I'd also gain 100% blindness immunity and 50% confusion immunity and 3% infravision radius. And I gain the ability to summon an arcane eye. So this is actually, it's got some benefits to it, but that light resistance, you have to, remember, I've been like having trouble with like the Luminous and Horrors. Those guys are fully light dealing damage type of enemies. So this is like something to keep around, possibly, but you want to be very careful sometimes with the type of equipment you're sort of putting on. Sometimes it can be very detrimental, even though it can be very beneficial sometimes also to use, but you sort of want to check what you're sort of, giving up or having to burn in for certain equipment when you put them on. All right, we're just going to go sell all this stuff. Cool. So just want to note something, but we just picked up, I'm not sure if I've actually seen this before yet on this character, but here is a wild infusion, and you might not know this, but this specific infusion cures me of 2 specific effects. So sometimes you'll find wild infusions, there'll be like, just one status effect on them. This one actually has a chance to cure either magical or physical type effects. It used to be that these were very powerful type of infusions. You could basically use this to sort of get around certain type of like effects. You could use like say a wild infusion cure physical and mental to try and deal with confusion and physical effects, and this worked quite well in sort of dealing with them. And sometimes you find them, with like higher resist 24% or good cooldowns as well. I don't think these are as much as in favor in terms like of gameplay as they are now, because recently you really want to make sure that you're managing a specific type of detrimental effect sometimes. For example, this is cool, it cures magical and physical, but if I'm like, say, I got like, let's say I want to get rid of like a magical effect, and I also have a stun effect on me at the same time, I might get rid of stun effect instead of the magical effect. And it's because these things with like double curative properties, sometimes they can be very beneficial to use, but they can also have their detriments as well, such as less control. So this one with like this physical here, this specific one would just be, just pure out, one little detrimental effect. You're sure it's going to remove physical every time you use it, because that's all it's meant to remove. And that one has a cooldown of 14 and reduces my damage reduces damage to me by 20%. That is kind of comparable to this, actually. I mean, it's got like a little bit of extra cooldown, and that's really what I want to have, good cooldown on like these type of wild infusions sometimes. But this is actually a fairly notable one that I might want to replace my, believe it or not, the very first wild infusion I started off with. So we finally replaced this guy finally. And apparently there's guys in here that I wasn't paying attention to. Oh, we got ourselves a Orc Grandmaster Assassin somewhere. So I'll be very careful. In many ways, I'm kind of sad that this run has been kind of easy for me. I was actually expecting this to be a little bit harder than, with a few more deaths and stuff like that as I sort of, progress through this game. But you really haven't really seen any real bad situations sort of happening to this character, minus, I guess, that one, like, the Lake of Nur on, the unique spawning along those limits of Hoards at the beginning of the fight. But there can be a lot of, like, bad instances sort of popping up sometimes. And sadly, you really haven't seen those instances sort of happening. Alright, there's a Orc Assassin. Summoning Trap. Oh, so this guy right here, by the way, he's, as you can see, stealthing, because he disappeared there for a moment. So this guy is a rogue, obviously, I think, because he's got, traps, and he also has the ability to use stealth right there. So yeah, another stealthy enemy. Now, I'll note, by the way, with Piercing Sight, the main reason you have to sort of watch out for guys that could be, an issue to you, it's generally because of rares and uniques. I mean, there's sometimes a few enemies that are, standard enemies that can cause troubles when they're hidden, but rare and specifically unique enemies are really where you're gonna have to watch out. And I'll note that we basically fought Demon, by the way. This Demon Knight has fought the Dwarfledin. It has this sort of special ability that sort of darkens the area around you. Kind of annoying sometimes, but there is actually a couple ways around it. Yep, I'm wandering around. Alright, this guy looks like what? What would do with that confusion there? Okay, so this guy's got Belling Roar. He's a Wyrmic. And they're all dealt with. Hey, we got an Arcane Blade with Thunderstorm. Dealt with him. Trolls, standard orcs, the occasional orc classes, and a whole lot of assassins. That's pretty much Reknor in a nutshell. And I think we're just about done it. So, Reknor 4 is the end of this instance. And really the start of what is really, you know, the really proper start of the second campaign, so to speak. That requires willpower to put on, even though it's got the constitution stat. I'll note that staves require both hands to sort of put on, so I can't, you know, put that on over the dagger. So it's kind of useless to me. Have I got a robe for this? That'd be a nice way to pick up my constitution stats some more, wouldn't it? Let's actually look. So this doesn't have any constitution stat. This doesn't have any constitution stat. So yeah, we picked up something that fixed my body armor I can wear. Alright, so I'll note that in the Reknor 4, this is a predefined instance. You're always going to find a layout, kind of like when I'm wandering in here. It's basically predefined for the purpose of that it being kind of like a boss fight, or, you know, a scripted event. A very giant scripted event. More or less the enemies are just the standard stuff you've been fighting so far. Usually though, you'll find a lot of Orcs and Wyrmics specifically in this room though. Alright, over here is where the fun stuff starts to happen. Alright, I want us to just go through here before we do anything else. That gives me... Wow. Alright, this is actually a notable candidate for replacing my my Fairsteel Amulet with. So Fairsteel Amulet, what's good about this is that it gives me 20% less fatigue score, a little bit of max endurance, that's like notable but nice. Movement speed 20%. So that's all nice stuff. This Enraging Starlight Amulet Murder, this basically gives me more armor penetration, more physical crit chance, more physical power and accuracy. It changes my damage to physical, does a little bit more combat speed, and ups my critical multiplier. So this will let me get into combat a little bit faster and move around as needed, but this will actually let me do more damage in combat, so to speak, so it's going to be useful for that. And I've actually got to watch my increments here. It's really getting high, so once your increments really starts to get high, you should really watch out for what you really don't need in your inventory anymore. So most of the stuff that I guess is worrying me down would be stuff like this. And you know, this would be useful possibly to use, but I think we're going to forego putting this on, so we're just going to get rid of it. Now cut down my weight a little bit. I can put this on for a little bit of a strength boost I need, along with maximum life and you know, the other stuff. So I'll keep it just for that at least. So more or less, I might be putting one of these back on, for example, for the strength boost, but whatever. And I might want to sell some of these daggers, but they're all low weight type of things anyways. Alright, so in here, I'll note that over on the wall over here is the boss. And he always spawns in this sort of pattern with like a Wyrmic fire and Wyrmic ice on, you know, his flanks. And of course a few other guys around him. So this guy, Goldbeg the Destroyer, he is a Wyrmic, and he probably shouldn't be too tough for you to really beat, but you have to watch his sort of level there. As you can see, he's level 37, so this guy, you know, the Master, he's going to be tough because he's tough, but this guy can be tough because his level might be really high. And he's got nobly a lot of talents that can really throw you off edge. He's kind of like, what can I say? He's very defensive, and he's very good at like sort of wearing you down, and in this case, he's got 2 heroism infusions, so he's going to be very, you know, kind of annoying to sort of kill off. Alright, we're just going to advance a little bit. Note that these guys, if you get close enough, they'll start coming after you. So we're just going to kill off a couple of these add-ons first. Whoops, I activated the wrong thing there. Alright, so once he basically sees you, as you open a door, you notice a huge orc in the distance, covered in both flames and ice. Elf! You should have never come. Your doom awaits. The Orc pride will never yield to anybody. They're precious, and there's nothing you can do. Alright, so the Orc pride obeys the master. I see pride indeed, blah blah. Pride chooses allies. It has no master attack. And, well, you know, another phone call. Why not? I'll be right back. I am 2 for 2 for this episode. Will I get a third call? Probably not, because there's probably not going to be any more instances that are going to be very interesting to pop up. But anyhow, boss fight. So, go back to Destroyer. This guy's a Wyrmic, and you sort of have to watch out for him. The main thing to know about this guy is that he's very effective at any range. He basically has access to stuff like Wing Buffet. He has access to Ice Breath, Fire Breath, and Belling Roar. And all these talents can sort of be used at range. He can also rush you to get into melee range if he wants, but generally he's just more deadly in the fact that he can sort of like chase you very well. And he's kind of durable at the same time. We shouldn't have too much of a problem with him, just for a simple reason that my character is going to be able to sort of just jump on him and do Windblade and sort of trash him in a moment. But we're just going to do this and this. And I'll note, by the way, he has a very special effect called Whistling Aura from all this. That's the, the terrain effect there. So basically, Whistling Vortex. The target is in a Whistling Vortex, granting... Why not? Alright, I'm back. Yep, I'm free for free on phone calls now. Alright, so he's got the Whistling Vortex on. So this guy basically, what this is doing for him, he's going to have basically increased range defense, and incoming projectiles are going to be slower. I don't really have any sort of range projectiles to sort of deal with, for this guy, but we're just going to jump on him. I'll note that basically I got hit by Belling Roar there, I think, by this guy. We're just going to Windblade. And yeah, this guy isn't going to be too tough, because I'm very capable of sort of dealing with him. But as you can see, he is kind of annoying. We're actually going to drop this here. And this is actually sort of a good point to sort of let our Trents do the work. We're just going to back up. And yeah, I'm getting hit quite a bit here, as you can see, so... Hopefully my Trents are going to basically grab some aggro. And as you can see, they sort of grab aggro and sort of beat on him a little bit. Let's just rush him back and finish him off. Destroyer's Bane, go back to Destroyer. Now, he drops something very special called the Orb of Many Ways. The Orb of Many Ways is a plot item, and it's got a very special power. It's very limited in its use, but it's used in something. I'll note that after you kill the Goldblack Destroyer, Harnold the Herald of Last Hope shows up. Well met, David. Let's learn. I've sent a message from King Toll to the last orc. Blah blah. Thank you for your courage. And it gives you that, and he disappears. So what's going on? One moment, being called yet again. Alright, I was going to basically open this, and I am going to open it, just so you can basically see it. But basically, it gives you a Last Hope sealed scroll. It basically lets you know that the orcs basically captured that staff that the master sort of had, that they sort of ambushed you out of Dreadfell to sort of pick up. And then they took it off, and they've made use of it. We've basically been sent to go find out what this gold bag's all about in Reknor, and see what's going on through this portal that they're sort of speaking of. Anyhow, we're just going to get out of here as fast as possible at this point. So this is, as you can see, a Farportal, much like the one in the Shelter Fortress, but unlike the one in Shelter Fortress, this one here is sort of like a one of two-way gateway. You're going to be going to a specific, a specific area with this Farportal. You know where you're going to go. Unlike with the Shelter Fortress, which basically randomly generates a dungeon, this one is just a two-way teleporter. With the Orb Many Ways, when you use it, and I'll note that if you don't have it on hockey, you can just go in here and basically just say use. What this will do is basically, when used on the Farportal, it will teleport you through the Farportal, and this will happen. And basically, a beautiful elven woman in golden robes stands before you, facing the orc-clad in mail. Basically, they're fighting each other. We're just going to attack Krogar and just deal with him very quickly. There's a bit of lore. Lost Farportal. Activate a portal using the Orb in Many Ways. There's an achievement for it. We're just going to rush him. Done. And note, by the way, that stuff can also walk in. So thank you. I hate to admit it, but you saved my life. At your service, but may I ask what you're doing in this dark place? Basically, talk to her. Now, I'll note that after you rescue Philaria here, if you basically just jump in here for the first time, you'll actually unlock the Norfil class. So once you basically get to unlock the Norfil, I really consider this to sort of... There's no way you can basically say you're not in the second part of the campaign at this point. You really are in the second part of the campaign. You've made it through halfway of the game. Welcome to the Far East. And the Far East is going to be a lot different than a lot of the stuff that happened in the main continent. Alright, I'm going to pick this up. A bit more cunning. And we're just going to boost up our Constitution stat, I guess. Did I pick up? Yeah, I did. I picked up that robe, so we can do this. We're just going to swap. Put on you. Put on you. Put on you. And you. So that's all on. We're going to put on the Ferrosteel Amulet, or not the Ferrosteel Amulet. Put on the Constitution. Put this on. Put this on. And yep, we're slowly building up the Constitution I sort of need, or maybe that's the last one I needed. Yep, there we go. And, odd, I can't put, stat in here for some reason. Well, whatever. So, that might be a bit of a bug being displayed, I don't know why. Or maybe we just can't put in, another talent point because there's a sort of hard cap that is not just paying attention to. Whatever, I'll just drop a point in Piercing Sight for now. I want to get this up to 5 of 5 eventually. And I'll note that after you get out of the Reknor, since I don't have any more Escorts, I don't have any more chance of getting Thief Escorts, there's like no chance, for example, I'll find like a Thief to sort of bump this up with like Escort rewards. So I like to get this to 5 of 5, but I don't necessarily want to raise it past 5 of 5. So now's a good time to sort of boost it up a little bit more. Don't know why the not letting me pick up that fixed skin, but whatever. It could be because there is a higher limit that I wasn't aware of, but I'll actually note this is actually one of my first characters that I've played, which hasn't really invested that much in the Constitution stat, but seems a little bit odd that I'm not able to. What was I wearing again? Not this, I was wearing this. Put that back on. Wearing that. Wearing this. That requires strength, so we're gonna have to put some of our stuff on to put it on, I guess. And yeah, gonna have to put on a few things. You go on. Darko's helm goes on. You go on. Darko's helm goes off. Oh, the lovely use of stats, don't you know, in this game. Alright, next time we're going to basically start here in the Far East. Should probably actually sell this stuff before I do anything though. Hey, look at that, there's a lamp that gives Constitution. Keep that. All the lovely gear. Keep the boots. That's actually a nice belt, but we'll make do without it. Alright, that's going to be it for all that stuff. We're just going to transmogrify all this stuff. And next time, we will continue on from the Unremarkable Cave. I'll basically introduce you to the Far East and what it's got to hold. Take care.